This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris, and today I'm making a baked Spanish rice. Many times Spanish rice can be kind of dry and flavorless, but not this one. It's moist, got a nice creamy consistency to it, and is loaded with flavor. Now, to get started with our rice, I'm going to take one onion and I'm going to chop it up into a medium chop. I'm then going to move my onion to this side of my board, and I'm going to get one jalapeno diced up. Now when I go to dice up a jalapeno, I first take off the end like this, and then I split it in half. And inside you see all these membranes and seeds. So I use my melon baller, and I want to get that out. That's where a lot of the heat of the chili is. And I'm going to do that on both halves. Then I take the chilies and I slice them into real thin little strips like this. Then I gather the strips together and I hold on to them and I just cut them in very fine pieces. And I'm going to run my blade through a little bit more. When you're dealing with jalapenos in something like this, you want to make sure that they're pretty finely chopped up. And then I'm going to get rid of these seeds and membrane because these are super hot. Now in a medium-sized saucepan like this, I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 tablespoon of butter, and I have this over a medium heat. Now that the butter is melted, I'm going to take my onion and put it in the pan, and I'm going to let this saute for about 4 minutes. What I'm looking is for these onions to start to get nice and soft. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of a long grain rice. I'm going to put that right in with the onions, and I'm going to let that saute for another 2 minutes. Now you can see that the rice really soaks up that butter and olive oil. So while this is sauteing the last couple of minutes, I am going to keep the rice moving. It's going to start to partially cook the rice a little bit, almost toasting it, which really gives a good flavor. But do keep the rice moving. Then I'm going to take my jalapenos, put that in the rice, give that a stir. And then I'm going to add 3 cups of chicken broth. Now I'm going to turn the heat up to medium-high, and I want to bring this to a boil. Now once this comes up to a boil, I'm going to take it off the heat. And I have a casserole dish that has a lid. That's the next step. I'm going to take the rice and stock, I'm going to pour it into the casserole dish, and pour it away from you because that liquid is super hot. And I want to make sure that I get all the rice out, any that's left over at the bottom. Then I'm going to cover the casserole dish, and I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and I'm going to put this in the oven and let it bake for 15 minutes. Now while the rice is baking, there's a few more ingredients to get ready. The first is a 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes, and I have drained them. Now if you have fresh tomato on hand, you could absolutely use that. Then I have a red and a green bell pepper that I'm going to chop up. And when I chop these, I'm going to cut the peppers into 3 large pieces like this, and then I'm going to turn them and cut them into some strips like this. And then I can gather the strips up all going in the same direction, and then give them a turn and run my blade through them. And that makes for a nice medium-sized chop. And I'm going to do the same thing with the red pepper. I'm also going to measure out 1 cup of non-fat sour cream. And then lastly, I'm going to grate about 1 cup of a sharp cheddar cheese. Now this is the rice hot out of the oven. I'm going to take the cover off, and you can see it's really hot. Now I'm going to start adding all of these ingredients to the rice. And if you see, the rice has started to get nice and creamy, but it's not cooked all the way through yet. So I'll start by adding my tomatoes, then my bell peppers, both red and green. And I'm going to stir those in. Now make sure if you go to touch the side of your casserole dish that you have a pot holder, because it's really, really hot. I want to get those vegetables mixed in with the rice. Then I'm going to add my sour cream and my cheddar cheese. The combination of the sour cream and the cheddar cheese makes almost a very light sauce that the rice can cook in. It's really good. Now at this point I'm going to stir this really well so that all of the vegetables and the cheese and the sour cream is mixed in well with that rice. Now at this point I've turned my oven up to 400 degrees, and I'm going to leave the lid off of the casserole dish, but I'm going to bake the rice for another 20 minutes. Now you can see the rice is really hot, nice and bubbly around the edges. I'm going to let this sit for about 10 minutes and then it's ready to serve. Well, if you'd like to give some of this baked Spanish rice a try, just go to our website and visit the On the Side show notes, and I'll have the recipe there for you. And as always, if you have any questions, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.